This is another episode of Dangerous Ideas. My name is Shawn. I'm an innovation strategist. What we do is we break down concepts and frameworks that will change your life. Oh, wow. Hey everyone, this is another episode of Dangerous Ideas. My name is Shawn. In this podcast, what we do is we break down concepts and frameworks that will change your life, change your business, change your career, but most importantly, change your life. I am incredibly excited to be here and drop some incredibly dangerous ideas. And this is a hodgepodge of a little bit of AI, a little bit of taste, a little bit of culture. And at the end of this video, I'm going to react to a couple of different videos from Google VO3 that just dropped their text to video generator, which is absolutely ridiculous. And I'm going to lay out some of my implications. But to start this pod, I thought what I would do is drop this video from Sergey Brin. Now, if you don't know who Sergey Brin is one of the most important people of our generation. He is one of the co-founders of Google. You might have heard of this company. He was on the All In Summit. This was a live conference that they did in Miami. And I thought he dropped something that was incredibly interesting when it comes to one of the smartest, one of the most important people in the tech revolution of our generation, talking about the impact of AI to his children. And his was his response, or actually maybe his non-response. Let's drop the clip.
And then you go home to your just life as a dad. Have you gotten to the point where you're like, what will my children do? And are they learning the right way? And should I totally just change everything that they're doing right now? Have you had any of those moments yet?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know how to think about it, to be perfectly honest. I don't have like a magical way. I mean, I have a kid in high school and middle school, and, I mean, the AIs are basically, already ahead, I mean, obviously there's some things AIs are particularly dumb at, and they make certain mistakes a human would never make. But generally, if you talk about like math or calculus or whatever, like they're pretty damn good. Like they, can win like math contests and coding contests, things like that against, some top humans. And then I look at, okay, he's whatever, my son's going to go on to whatever, from sophomore to junior. And what is he going to learn? And then I think in my mind, and I talked to him about this, well, what is the AI going to be in one more year?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's
are
like
there areas
not
where you
comparable, right? Obviously.
Are there areas where you would tell your son, look, don't, or not yet?
I don't know if you can like plan your life around this. I mean, I didn't particularly plan my life to like, I don't know, be an entrepreneur or whatever. I was just liked math and computer science. I guess maybe I got lucky and it worked out to be, useful in the world. I don't know. I guess I think, my kids should do what they like. Hopefully it's somewhat challenging and they can, overcome different kinds of problems.
This is one of the most important people of our generation talking about the future of our children and what they should be learning in this AI revolution. And here's Sergey Brin talking about his own children. Of course, now listen, Sergey Brin's children and their children and their children's children's children will never have to worry about money in their entire life. That is for sure. But what's incredibly interesting is that he actually didn't have a response. He had no idea. His company is literally leading the charge. I mean, he's no longer the CEO of the company, but he's still involved in the organization. They're leading the charge when it comes to this AI revolution, and he has no idea around what children should be doing in the future. His response was that maybe we should not be engineering our lives and our careers around what AI can or cannot do. We should just lead with our passions and our interests. And I think this is the best advice that I actually think that anybody could give. At this point, this is the best advice that anybody can give, which is, I have no idea. The one thing that is for sure is that this idea of the way that we look at the world, whether it's looking at the world in four-year blocks in college or university, the way that we look at our world in terms of the assembly line approach of teaching our kids, the way that we've run our organizations like an assembly line, standardized, optimized, streamlined. This era is over. Listen, the world was built by explorers, mavericks, pirates. Okay, and over the last number of decades that we've grown so comfortable. We have grown so comfortable that our explorers have become risk advisors, our mavericks have become insurance providers, and our pirates have become accountants. And because of that, we turn everything into an efficiency game. We've turned everything into its most optimized, standardized, streamlined way of doing things. And that will have to change because of AI. AI is impacting every single job, function, industry, organization, and industry. And when listen, that was a mic drop. I don't know if you heard that through the sound here, but there was a huge thunderstorm. Anyways, all this to say, AI is going to change everything, and because it's going to change everything, there's going to be so much uncertainty that you're not going to be able to predict what jobs, what industries will be relevant in the future. This is what I would say to my kids is, and I've been saying this on stage, I've said it on this pod, at the end of the day, like building those core human skills, grit, resilience, looking people in the eye, developing good relationships with others, finding something that you're world-class in, something that you love in, something that you can throw your heart and passion and soul into is probably what's going to differentiate you from the rest of the world. And so try to find that thing, and at the very least, have fun doing it. The reality is that AI is going to come for many jobs, but it's also going to revolutionize many jobs. It's also going to create many industries. So I'm actually an optimist. I'm not as worried. But for Sergey Brin to talk about what his kids are going to do in the future and have no freaking idea, where does that leave everyone else? And I've been trying to, speak and with entrepreneurs, with people that are in this particular space. They have no idea, not only for their kids, but also for themselves. So I thought that was an incredibly interesting clip from Sergey Brin. Okay, so this next piece is probably the most dangerous idea that I've heard over the last week when it comes to AI, and this is from Gary Vee. Now, let me couch this by saying I fundamentally believe that Gary Vee is one of the most, I would say just one of the most inspiring people of our generation as well. The fact that he started in his father's wine business to creating one of the biggest social media agencies in the world to becoming a really incredible entrepreneur. Like I have a massive amount of respect for Gary Vee. I love Gary Vee, and I think he is right 90% of the time. And there are some times where he's wrong. In fact, I am wrong 60% of the time and right 40% of the time. So I'm not going to hold Gary Vee to this high standard, but I'm not going to hold myself to this high standard, and I'm not going to hold Gary Vee to the highest standard too. No one is right 100% of the time. But he has this really interesting take when it comes to AI and relationships. And prepare yourself. This is the most dangerous idea that you'll hear all week. Let's drop the clip.
That your grandkids will marry an AI human.
And what's your conviction level on that?
100%.
That they're going to marry an
that
AI?
Your grandchild is going to marry an AI human.
So this is what we've been talking about. I think people are going to have relationships, fully AI boyfriend, girlfriends. I think it's going to be indistinguishable.
You mean Megan Fox, right? The thing like from that movie, you saw that?
No.
On Netflix? Like the AI robot.
Are you talking about she or her or whatever it is?
Not that one. There was a Megan Fox one that just came out. Nonetheless, they're all the same. I believe a robot that is fully AI will marry a human and vice versa for real in your lifetime at scale.
And when you say an AI, does that mean like a physical body of a robot? So you're saying that the bodies will get so good that it will look like you and like I could.
I don't know if you know this, but people have sex with sex dolls.
What? Jack does. That explains what that thing is in your closet,
what?
Jack.
No.
And obviously, like that is like super taboo, and it's 2025. And I I'm not educated on it, though I don't judge anyone who does, but my intuition is that in 20 years, because the AI can power the robot and because of where we're going and what's going on, that's fully.
Okay, so your grandkids will marry an AI. One of the things that I've said throughout my career is that disruption always starts out as a joke. And I'll be the first to say that I cannot predict the future. And I'll be the first to say that when something feels uncomfortable or weird or dumb today, that it ultimately becomes something that is part of the zeitgeist later. And the idea that an AI you'll be married to an AI is a crazy take. I actually don't believe it. I don't think it's going to happen. And even though I couch it by saying, listen, this is where disruption starts. It starts out as a joke. This is obviously a joke today that you would marry an AI. But let's break it down. I'm actually happy to break it down. So the idea that more and more people will, that the AI will become more sophisticated is undeniable. AI is getting to a point where it's going to get incredibly sophisticated, not only from a AGI perspective. I would argue that we already have superintelligence. I would argue that, just by talking to ChatGPT voice advanced mode, people are already having a relationship with it. People are already acting like it's their therapist. This is 2025. So in 20 years, where is it going to get to? Like its level of intuition, its level of empathy, it's going to be on another scale. So I do believe that in a chat format that it's going to be there. Combine the fact that we're going to get exponentially better at robotics and creating these humanoids, it's going to get way more seamless. And there is no doubt, I actually agree with Gary that there is no doubt that people are going to have sex with robots in 2 decades. That is undeniable. Okay, the first industry that ever gets cracked when it comes to new business models, new tech advancing, is always the sex industry. They're always ahead of the game because I guess that is just something that's innately human. Guys will always find ways to invent platforms and things to get off. That's just natural. So I do believe that humans will have sex with robots in 2 decades. What I don't believe, let me keep going on it. The idea that loneliness is going to be at an all-time high in about 2 decades is also going to be real. You're already seeing loneliness really accelerate. You're seeing the fall of birth rates. You're seeing marriage rates go down as well. The idea that science fiction has already made it familiar. Listen, if you were to ask men today, would you want a Megan, I'm talking about single guys today, would you want to marry a Megan Fox robot that is always on, that's 24/7, that is hot as she is? I would tell you that 90% of the guys would say, yes, please give me the Megan Fox robot now. I could see that. So I'm actually making a bull case for Gary Vee right now. But I think the bear case is that at the end of the day, humans want something that is innately human. It is hardwired into our DNA. It is something that you cannot change. And this very idea that you're going to end up with a robot for the rest of your life is, it's not healthy. And B, I don't think it's going to be possible because you may want to be with a robot in a short term, but in a very long term period, it's not gonna be sustainable because we're just not hardwired to do that yet. And so, this take might age incredibly poorly, but I just feel that it's not going to happen because of the hardwiring that we have. And it's an interesting question. Put in the comments. I'd love to know what you think. Do you think that we will marry, or like our grandkids will marry an AI? I don't see it. Sex, yes. Marry, that seems a bit off. And I don't know if regulation has to step in to this and not allow people to marry an AI. I just don't think that we're going to be in a good place by doing that. So incredibly dangerous take. I was almost proving this to myself. This is a good take. So next clip. Now, this is a clip from Scott Galloway's podcast. Scott Galloway is a incredible thinker. He is a professor, and he has blown up over the last number of years. It's been a while to see his success. And he was answering these questions on his podcast called Ask Prof G, and he was talking about personal branding. And as somebody that has written on this subject a ton, I was really interested to hear his take. And let's drop.
You have a brand whether you want one or not. A brand is essentially the promise or the associations that are linked to you and linked to your name, linked to your visual identity, linked to you when you show up. Everybody has a certain preset set of expectations, the promise you present, if you will, and then you have to deliver hopefully against that performance. And ideally, you want a differentiated brand such that when there's an opportunity for a promotion or an assignment, and they have 5 different cereal boxes, i.e. people to pick from, they pick you. So how do you go about that? The first thing is, I think it's helpful to think of what are your core associations? What do you want to be known for professionally? And that is the 2 or 3 kind of adjectives, descriptors that sort of identify, do you want to be known as especially empathetic? That's important. Those people make great managers. Do you want to be known as especially strategic? And that is, there's a role for those people. I put them on figuring out our 6 or 12-month plan. Are you kind of no nonsense? All right, send that person, and kind of harsh, quite frankly, and good with numbers. Send that person to the branch in Houston and have them do the analysis and come back and give it to me straight on what's going on with that business. There's all sorts of qualities, features, attributes that are positive or differentiate someone in the work world. And I think it's helpful to kind of identify what those 3 things are, those 2 or 3 things are, such that they can serve as sort of a guiding light or a religion. Think about religion. It's a set of rules that you try and shape your actions and your life around, such that you behave in a way that reinforces the teaching of Jesus Cristo, right? What would Jesus do? I remember that question in Sunday school. By the way, rest in peace, El Papa. Rest in peace. Anyways.
Okay, I had to include that clip because I don't know what happened there. But, I think Scott Galloway is actually bang on. And the punchline here is, I think that the world only pays you to be one thing. And I think if we're figuring out who we want to be, we should double down on something that someone else can look at us and be like, that person is... they are this one thing. They're all about this. Now, I know we're all multifaceted. I know that we're all, we have different passions. I have different interests. We have like these really dynamic personalities. I get it. And, look at me. Like, I love AI and technology and innovation and hip hop and culture and music. But listen, the world pays you for one thing. I get paid for innovation. That's it. If somebody looks at me and they're looking to see what they get from me, they're like, that's the innovation guy. And doubling down on what people know you for, that's what a brand is all about. The thing that I would add to Prof G here is that my belief is that in order to build a really sustainable brand, it's about layering bricks. It's bricks after bricks and cementing this idea that you are world-class at this particular thing. It could be innovation. It could be strategic. It could be about, cleaning. It could be about woodworking. It could, whatever it is, just double down on that. And I think one of the best ways of doing that is through content. It's putting out ideas. Now, that doesn't have to be just through video, through audio, through text. It could be by running an event. It could be through text message. It could be about, having a group chat. Whatever it might be, it's creating a medium that you're comfortable with and offering without asking for anything in return. It's actually shipping with generosity. It's providing value when others are not even asking for value, and doing it in that narrow lane. And I think the narrow lane is incredibly important. I think if you are seeking, if you're providing things for many people, for the mass audiences, that's where you're going to get burnt. I think actually mass is overrated. And to resonate means to resonate by reaching a few. It's the idea that by handcrafting something for a very small niche or a very small audience or a very small amount of people will help you build trust and affinity at the end of the day. And I really do believe that a brand is not your logo, it's not your missions, it's not what you put on your website, it's not what you tell people. It's the story that is embedded in the hearts and minds and souls of that end person. And the story is really is reinforced through just pounding the narrative over time. And to me, that's how you create an incredible brand. It's not what you think. It's actually what you're putting out. It's the stories that you're putting out. It's the things that you're putting out in the universe, and that is reinforced every time. I literally was sitting here. We were having lunch. Deepa, my wife, was here. We were chatting with Neve, who's our creative lead, and I said, one of the things that I love doing, obviously, one thing that I have found is, obviously, my brand is around this area of innovation, and I think one of the ways that I've been able to seamlessly get out and create this brand is through video. I love this platform. I love this medium. I love the idea that by putting out something in the world, somebody else can take that idea and run with it. It is the most enjoyable thing in the world. That's why I'm doing this. I'm not just doing it for other people. I'm also doing it for myself. Like, I really enjoy this platform and this medium. And I was telling her today that every time we put out a new video, I always feel like it's a new brick. Every time I put out a new video, it's like increasing the chances of me getting lucky, whether it's through opportunities or making an impact, or people finding me, or getting another speaking engagement. The more that you put out things in the universe, the more surface area you create. And what I've realized is that by putting out things that can really make an impact, you just increase the surface area for you to get lucky. That's what content can really do. And so this is why I love this pod, because this gives me more shots to put out, and it increases my surface area to get lucky. So I love that. All right, so this next piece is really around this conversation around taste. And I really love this podcast by, it's from Mixed Singles. The podcast called Mixed Singles. No, let me reframe that. It's called Mixed Signals. I can't speak today. From Semaphore Media. And they had Chris Black, who's the podcast host of How Long Gone. And he was talking about this idea of taste. And it actually challenged my thinking of how I look at the world. And I thought I would play it for you because I thought it was a really interesting take when it comes to gatekeepers today, and the power of gatekeepers, and maybe the idea that gatekeepers are back. Drop the clip.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the reasons that we're excited to talk to you is because you think a lot, I think, about taste and kind of about taste making. And that's something, I mean, we're in this funny moment, I think, where the internet has obviously for decades now really like democratized these questions that used to be, decided at Condé Nast headquarters, and people take more cues from influencers, random people on TikTok, than from, the sort of official arbiters of taste. And I'm curious, like, how that process, which basically is, in some sense, your whole career, has changed how you think about what's cool and interesting, and kind of the advice you give clients.
I mean, I think the more the more saturated it gets, the easier it is in some ways. You know, I think there's just there's just too much. You know, there's too much. There's too many pains. I famously, to the detriment of my bank account, respect the institutions quite a lot. You know, like I do a weekly column at GQ, and I could go do that on Substack and make a lot of money, but I don't think Substack is cool. I think it serves a purpose. I subscribe to a lot of them.
Are institutions cool again, or is it that they never stop being cool?
Institutions never stop being cool. I mean, I think we're seeing this a little bit with the Graydon Carter memoir and this new Condé Nast book that's come. People are like, this shit is cool. Like, obviously it's changed. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have a car service and a $400,000 a year, contract for 4 stories, but it's still, there's just some glamour attached to it where I think there's no glamour attached to a lot of this shit that's happening online. And that's something that and that's similar with How Long Gone. Like, we are we don't want to be beholden to the listener. Like, I don't want Patreon to own me. You know, we're very consistent, but we put that podcast out 3 times a week because we want to, and we have advertisers that want to get in bed with us and our ads sell out, and that's our business.
Yeah. So, what I thought was really interesting was that he said that Substack is not cool. And it's this idea that all these creator-led platforms like Substack, like Patreon, are not cool. And it brings back this idea that, gatekeepers actually are incredible. What they're ultimately doing, what gatekeepers are ultimately doing, and what they've been really great at, is by curating taste. You know, the gatekeepers have always been the arbiters of taste. If you go to Condé Nast or GQ or Vanity Fair, like these publications have been the arbiters of taste. And maybe in this world where media is completely fragmented, maybe in a world where everyone has a hot take, everyone has an opinion, where the algorithm has completely flattened novelty and it makes trends expire incredibly quickly, maybe these legacy institutions have an amazing halo for creators and the people that are on them, because we're searching for someone with taste, right? We're searching for someone that can tell us that this is good, right? In a world where we have all these creators and all this content, like it's great to have some folks that can point a finger and say this is tasteful. I always think about this idea that. And I've said this on the pod a couple times, which is when Vince Carter in 2000 was in the slam dunk competition, and he did that dunk when Tracy McGrady bounced the ball and Vince Carter put it through his legs and put it in the hoop. It's the greatest dunk that I've ever seen at that moment. And that dunk actually froze the world over, right? People talked about that dunk for ages. And especially that year, I remember we watched it on tape delay, and I don't think that you can have a Vince Carter moment anymore because of the speed of social media, because every day you're seeing something that's new and novel and crazy. I was just telling my friends the other day, so in basketball, there was this incredible moment where the Indiana Pacers came back and had one of the greatest comebacks ever versus the New York Knicks. And in that game, in the final shot of almost the game, it went to OT. But Tyrese Halliburton had this really iconic shot where photograph where he grabs his neck, and it's a chokehold. And it's symbolic because Reggie Miller, who's also an Indiana Pacer, was also at MSG number of decades ago that did the choke sign as well. And so it was such an incredible sports moment, one of the greatest sports moments that I've ever seen. And yet, in a day, it gets washed out. Like, people will be talking about Tyrese Halliburton's chokehold for years, if it happened decades ago. But because of social media and because of the speed of it, we lose everything. And I think what Chris's point is that actually gatekeepers were always cool, because gatekeepers always were, they could put their finger on something and say, this is tasteful. That's why we read it. And that's why when you went on Jimmy Carson, they would have these comedians come on, and we would watch Jimmy Carson, because I didn't watch it. That was too young for my time. But he would point to a comedian and say, this person is the next comedian. And that person would go on to have an incredible career. And I actually think that if you're Netflix, if you're HBO, if you're Vanity Fair, if you are the Globe and Mail, if you are these legacy brands, you still hold a lot of power. Because although, now we watch things, and it is true that, we watch TikToks and IG Reels and all this stuff, and attention is completely fragmented. There is still power in being one of these legacy institutions that can curate taste, right? There is still power in it, because I ask people this all the time. You were on TikTok this morning. You were on IG this morning. You were on YouTube Shorts this morning. Do you remember anything? Do you remember any creators? And the reality is that gatekeepers still hold some gravitas. Scarcity, they still hold scarcity. So it goes to show why there's still value in gatekeepers. I mean, that's why, for my next book, I'm going to go with a publisher. That's why on my next streaming special, I'm going to go with a reputable streamer, because there is value in those gatekeepers. So, love this piece from Chris, and incredibly hot take. Substack is not cool. Love that. All right, so something happened this week that took the world by storm. I don't think I saw jaws drop like I saw with Google's announcement with their new AI advancements. This week, Google announced VO3, their text-to-video generator, the next edition around it. And finally, as of May 2025, we are now in a world where you can create a video and you will not be able to tell if it's AI or real. Now, I can't tell you how difficult it is to create video that is this seamless. The physics, the science, the intricacies of video are on the next level. And for Google to figure this out and to create these videos that are so seamless, that are so real, I mean, it will blow your mind. In addition, they've actually added audio to it. So I'm going to show you a couple clips. Let's drop the first one.
Honestly, the biggest red flag is when the guy believes in the prompt theory. Like, really? We came from prompts? Wake up, man.
That is AI. I could show you that to 1,000 people, and 900 of them would say that that was real. Forget 900. 999 people would tell you that that is real. Ridiculous. Let's drop the next one.
Imagine you're in the middle of a nice date with a handsome man, and then he brings up the prompt theory. Yuck. We just can't have nice things.
That is AI. Let's drop one more.
What's one move with AI that makes haters go crazy every time?
Oh, y'all gotta give him that. This is wild. It's over. We are cooked on that thread. You get me?
I cannot believe that this is AI. So as of May 2025, we've entered into a world where you can't tell between what is real and AI. And the implications of this are massive. Now, I have been trying to get a hold of Google VO3. Unfortunately, it's not available in Canada. I was desperately trying to get it a couple days ago through a VPN, but I couldn't. But let's go through the implications. Number one, from a positive perspective, this is going to unlock so much creativity. We're going to have people making stories and videos and films and doing things that are incredibly creative by having this in their hands. this is going to be incredibly disruptive from a storytelling perspective, and people are going to be able to create. And I think what's remarkable about it is that, this idea of creating video, as somebody that has spent the majority of his career creating video, to have this incredible tool in the hands of everyone to create anything, it's unlocks the power of creativity by 1,000x. Because, I think part of the problem of expressing ourselves is that we never really had this medium to do this. And now, by putting in text prompts, we can actually express ourselves in fundamentally new ways. This is going to create new industries that we've never even thought of. That's number one. Number two is we have to talk about the disinformation and misinformation. This is going to cause incredible misinformation and disinformation. Just the ability to get any character to say anything and have that on social media and have it, proliferate the internet. I can't even explain the amount of chaos that this is going to cause. Number three is when the world is inundated by AI content, which obviously by having access to this, the world is going to be inundated by AI content. People are going to create their own AI content at scale. What it's going to do, it's going to drown out the internet. And we're going to be living in a world where you're not going to be able to tell between what is real and AI. And because of that, my belief is that there's going to be a push to more analog, more real, in-person interactions, because the internet is just going to be cooked. It's going to be cooked full of AI. It's going to be 99% AI. And because of that, I think it's going to push us away to something that's more real and in-person and more authentic. Also, from a culture perspective, from an aesthetic perspective, it might push us to become more grainy, more personable. Trying to do something that is truly human will get increasingly harder to do, but we'll figure it out. It's going to move culture in ways that I don't think we've even thought of. Of course, the IP and likeness considerations that we have to consider. And, of course, I want to make sure that as somebody that has thousands of videos online, hundreds and thousands of hours of my face and videos online. Yeah, am I concerned about somebody using my likeness and my name in nefarious ways? Absolutely. You can put me in any scenario and, that's going to be incredibly dangerous for somebody that has been so particular about his brand and reputation. It's a new world. And then going back to the whole Gary Vee thing, I think the ability to create parasocial relationships or these synthetic relationships online is going to get even more seamless, because you're going to be able to get anybody to say anything. It's going to be wild. I'm more excited about the opportunities and the industries that this is going to create, but what a wild innovation from Google. Just absolutely crazy. They also announced some other things, Project Mariner, basically their AI autonomous agent and other things. Maybe on another episode, we'll break down the entire Google I/O developer conference. And to be honest with you, they cooked it. They were great. I also have an AI progress barometer. Essentially, if you are in a coma in the future, if you are in a coma and you wake up and you want to know where we are with AI progress, all you have to do is conduct the Will Smith spaghetti test. What is the Will Smith spaghetti test? Well, you can see where Will Smith is and how the Will Smith eating spaghetti test is in any point of time. Let's drop the video here. Yeah. So that is Will Smith eating spaghetti using VO3, and that's what it looked like back in March 2023. So this is the AI progress barometer. And at some point, I don't know when this is going to happen. Not only is it going to be seamless, not only is it going to be like, it's going to look exactly like Will Smith eating spaghetti, but maybe at some point, you're going to actually physically be able to create your own Will Smith eating spaghetti. And then at that point, we're cooked, okay? But that's my AI progress meter. That's when I know like where we are in the AI revolution. And at this point, it's getting really, really good. Wow. So on this note, thank you so much for rocking with me. This is another episode of Dangerous Ideas. Rate, subscribe, review, whatever you got to do. It helps a ton, and we'll be back next week. Thank you guys.